Alright, what's up guys? So we are picking this video up right where the last one left off. So if you haven't seen those videos, and if you want to go check out the bodywork that I did on this Impreza, go check out the last two videos. I'll link the first one up above. So I just finished up doing all of the bodywork on this thing, molding those rear quarter panels, getting everything sanded, fixing a bunch of dents, fixing rock chips, a whole 9 yards, ton of sanding. Luckily I didn't film most of it. It was more of just before and afters of me filming. But today is finally the day that we start wrapping everything. So last video, if you guys didn't see it, I actually wrapped the roof while I was waiting for Bondo to dry on the doors, and I also showed you guys the front bumper and rear bumper, which I'll show you right now. So Matt helped me the other day. Matt has 2 kids now, so he is very limited on time, so whenever he was available, I had to jump on the opportunity. So obviously the body work wasn't done yet, but the other day Matt came by and was able to help me wrap the front bumper and wrap the rear bumper. The 2 pieces that I definitely needed someone else to help me with, just heating and stretching, someone working the heat gun, also someone pulling. Definitely a 2-person job to do bumpers. Everything else on the car, it will be easier. It would be easier with 2 people, but I can do everything else myself. I've done it in the past with my SC300. I wrapped pretty much the entire car myself besides the rear bumper and front bumper. So we're gonna start today by wrapping, I think, the hood and maybe one of the front fenders. I'll see. I don't have much time left today, considering that before this video started, I was still sanding and stuff, so I've already been here a couple hours. I only have a couple hours left. But I'm going to wrap one of the fenders, maybe wrap the hood, and we'll see how long that takes, and maybe I'll wrap the whole quarter panel. That might be for another day, because that not only is a large piece, but it's going to be a little bit of a time-consuming one just to make sure everything's right. So I might just start off with the hood and the fender. I actually have a piece that's cut over there from when we were wrapping the bumpers that looks like it should be perfectly shaped for this side fender. The way it comes over and then down, the piece that I have over there looks like it should fit. So I'm going to bring it over and just lay it in front of it, see if it actually does fit. If it does, then that's great. I'll use it for this. The hood, I just need to wipe it down. I also just have one stud right here that I need to cut because the nut rounded off on it. So I just got to do that quick, and then, like I said, wipe it down. I got to clean all the crap out of the hood scoop area and over here, just so it doesn't get stuck to the wrap. And then we'll wrap the hood as well, because the hood, just like the roof, it won't take too long.
You're the night sky, trying to make me see your stars, but the dark gets lonely. Now I see violet, I can feel silence, and the dark's all that I see. When your stars have burnt out and your heart makes no sound, I'll find violet in your eyes. You'll always be my night sky.
Alright, now just like that, the hood is wrapped, and now that front fender is wrapped. So this right here, don't worry about it, it looks like it's all wrinkly. It's actually, there's a clear film over the wrap. So this is that clear film. It started peeling up when I cut this piece out. Right now I'm going to leave all the clear film on. So right now this still has the clear on it, this now still has the clear on it. I'm going to wrap probably almost the majority of this car without taking the film off, just to make sure nothing scratches it. And then it'll kind of be like an unwrapping right at the end to see the finished product. If you watched the last episode when I did the roof, I sprayed water on it and used my squeegee, and that's because this wrap doesn't have the clear on it, so I didn't want to scratch it. So you use water, help it glide a little bit more. The hood and that fender, as you could tell, I didn't use any water just because it has the clear. So when I'm swiping my squeegee on it, I'm not actually like scratching the wrap itself. I'm just scratching, well, or if there is any scratches, it's going on the clear, and that's it. So now that's done. You can't really tell because there's no bumper on it, but it looks really good. It's coming out exactly how I wanted. No imperfections at all. Absolutely love it. Front bumper is obviously already done. I just need to do that fender, and then the whole front clip is done. That's so sweet. The hood actually only took me like 30 minutes to wrap. That actually wasn't that bad. The fender probably took just about the same amount of time just because of the curve of it. This was nice and flat. Usually, the funny thing is, usually the flatter the piece, at least in my opinion, the flatter the piece is actually, it gets more difficult because you have to make sure that there's no air bubbles underneath. So if you saw me do it multiple times, I would squeegee, make sure there's no air. I'd move to a different spot and I'd come back and I'd squeegee it again. And then right at the end, I would heat gun the whole hood. Basically, more so just to help activate the adhesive on the wrap, but also to just find any small air pocket that might come up. And then all you have to do is just use one of those gloves that I have and just massage the air bubble out, and it comes right out. So the hood's done. I'm not going to have enough time today to do this fender. I'm going to just finish off. I need to sand these fog light covers, and then I'm going to wrap these just because it'll be nice and quick. I could actually install them on the bumper as well. And then that's all I'm going to have time for today. But that gets me super motivated to come back. I'm going to take tomorrow off. Tomorrow's Sunday. I'm just going to take it off. And I'm going to come back Monday night and probably do this fender and probably the whole quarter panel. Now, I don't know if I said before, but the quarter panel is going to be a big piece because it has to go all the way from a pillar all the way up, then down to the whole quarter panel. And I need to go until about here with wrap, because then the side skirt covers the rest of it. So that's gonna be a big old piece, and I've done large quarter panels like that before, so it won't be too bad to do. It's just gonna be more cumbersome just carrying that large piece over and then trimming out the excess that I don't need. Okay, and now I got the fog light covers on. I got them wrapped and I just installed them. So the only thing I do need to still do is make a bracket for the turn signal that will bolt behind here. But since I have that hole drilled in the back, I should be able to just reach in there. If not, the holes I made don't necessarily completely line up, but I can just take off those covers if I actually need to. But front bumper is pretty much complete. I just got to get those turn signals in there. And I have a pink STI, well, the pink Subaru Star badge coming from Europe right now. So once that comes in, I'll stick that on, and then the front bumper will actually be 100% complete.
Always be my night sky. You're the night sky hiding behind dark gray clouds. I can't figure you out now. I see your blue. There is so much cold in you, and the silence is so loud when you go. I just stay dancing with my shadow all day. Watch the time. I can't find the point where our two pass the line. But you're the night sky. I'm trying to see your stars, but I've always feared the dark. Now I see violet. I can feel your silence. You always feel so far when your stars have burnt out and your heart makes no sound. I'll find valid in your eyes. You'll always be my night sky.
driver's side quarter panel and now the driver's side front fender are both wrapped. Now, I said that the bumpers were only thing that I really only needed 2 people for, and I guess technically that's true. The quarter panel would have definitely been something that another set of hands would have been helpful with, just because it was almost an 11-foot long sheet that I needed to bring over, and I don't know if it's in the time lapse or not, but me struggling trying to get everything lined up and cutting some of it away so it's not just like all right there, because I actually saved a bunch of pieces that are over there on the table, and I actually used one of those pieces for the front fender. So let's take a look at it. It looks really good. Now, it looks, right here on camera, it looks absolutely amazing. In person, it still does look absolutely amazing. But since that, I was telling Matt this, since that most of the body is already white, it's just different shades of white, that wrapping this whole thing white, besides like the roof pillar, it doesn't look much different than what it looked like before. So, I mean, it's not like the car was all red and now I'm wrapping it white so I get to see this giant color difference. It's still white just like it was before, except now it's super, super shiny. And you can just see this transition right here that I molded is legitimately perfect. I am like actually blown away with how perfect the molding of the quarter panel actually turned out. Now, just like on all the other pieces, I still have the protective clear coat film over this. I'm going to leave it on until I have everything else wrapped, like I said before, just in case if anything gets scratched or dust or dirt that is probably flying around in the shop, that's protected. So I just have to remember at the end of this, everything but the bumpers still has the film on it. And now front fender, just like the other side, it's all wrapped. This just took me about 30 minutes to do. That quarter panel took me about an hour and a half, which I'm not shocked. It is a large piece, and you have to make sure that you have enough and you line this area up first, just to make sure when you go to wrap that area, you look at the vinyl over here and it's like out over here on the windshield, and then you're screwed because it's not lined up. So I got this over here lined up, got a little bit in the center lined up. And in the time lapse, I don't know if I'm going to put it in or not, but I started over here in this area. But what I ended up doing, as you can see in the time lapse, I worked my way from here, got this down here, and then I worked my way over. This area down here was an absolute pain, and I don't know why, because it's flat, but for some reason it was a nightmare. Obviously ended up getting it, but I needed to heat it and stretch it a bunch of times, which I don't enjoy doing, but I had to. This area down here, I didn't need to wrap any of that because the side skirt actually covers it. I just needed to move it over here a little bit just because this area is shown, and then same with a little bit of that up there. I needed to wrap it, along with just a little bit of the door jamb I wrapped as well, just so this gap right here you can see the white, not red. But it came out extremely well. I'm super happy with it. I'm actually honestly very proud of myself for the molding of this quarter panel that I did. I've done it in the past, but this came out a whole lot better than all the last ones that I did. I'm glad that this is coming together really well. Now, tomorrow when I'm here, I'm going to tackle this one and then probably get the spoiler off to try and wrap the trunk. We'll see if this one goes by any quicker, since that I just did the same thing on the other side. And then the doors I'm going to wrap once I finish the quarter panel, finish the trunk. Basically the only things will be side skirts and then the doors left to be wrapped. I still need to grind the lower portion of the doors to clear the side skirt being there, since that the side skirt is like obviously a certain thickness and it tucks into the door jamb. So I just need to grind the bottom of the door just to clearance it, and I can't open the door fully with it on the lift. So I'm going to wait to do all the other wrapping. So just literally just this quarter panel, the trunk, and the wing. And then I'm able to put the wheels back on it, put it on the ground, back it up enough to get the doors all the way open. And that way I can grind them, and I'll wrap it once it's down on the ground. And then the side skirts, I just have one bolt on either side holding it, and then I'm going to have either 2 self-tapping screws or 2 rivets. One over here and then one over here on the inside the door jamb.
You'll always be my nice guy. You'll always be my nice guy.
Alright, so I've been just wrapping away. I did the trunk that you guys just saw in the time lapse. Off camera, what I actually just ended up doing was the passenger side quarter panel as well. I figured you guys just saw me do the driver's side. This is the same thing, except it has a fuel door opening. This actually the other side took me an hour and a half. This one took me an hour. So I knocked 30 minutes off, but then I probably gained the 30 minutes on doing the trunk because this top area is nice and easy because it's nice and flat. And then it comes to this area, which not only curves down, but it actually curves around as well. So this was actually more difficult than I thought. I remember my buddy and I tried to wrap his trunk with some cheap eBay carbon fiber vinyl years and years and years ago, like 2015, and we could not get this area good. We ended up actually just cutting it here and doing 2 different pieces, and even down here still didn't come out that great. But for the most part, there's a couple wrinkles, but for what you can see, you can't see them. So I know on camera it's probably just picking up that's all white, but there are just a couple. But I'm okay with that. For the struggle that it gave me, I am totally fine with just 1 or 2 of them in there. Again, just like everything else, still has the clear on it. I had to rip the clear in order to get the key back in there. But there we go. So now it's even more of a vehicle. So now you can actually see the quarter panel with trunk. And now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to install the rear bumper for the final time. So I'm going to install the bumper, and then I'm going to see how the taillights fit up, and that's going to be my reward for getting, I guess, for getting the rear end done, just so I can get pretty much a rear shot of what the thing's going to look like. And then I'm going to start working on the wing. So I have a bunch of just random cut off pieces, so I'm going to see if I can do the wing with all these random pieces I have. Like there's one over there, a couple on the GTI, and then a couple on the table. So I'm going to see if I can make do with just all the extra cuts to make the wing happen. And then I'm hoping to get that thing done today and get it bolted onto here also for its final time, and actually be able to see the whole rear end with the wing on, and that would be an amazing way to end the night. Okay, and I've got the rear bumper on and I've got the taillights in. So this right here, I need to figure out why there's a gap right in here when you can see this side is actually flush with the trunk. The taillights that came out were flush. This trunk wasn't on this car to begin with, but it was straight on the other coupe that I have. And then the trunk that actually came off of this was straight as well. So there's obviously some alignment issue somewhere that I'll just have to figure out. Maybe the taillight area right here is actually pushed in a little bit, so I just need to pull it out. I'll figure that out. But I'm just going to keep on going along. You can see there's a little bit of a gap over on this side, just a little bit, but it's a fiberglass bumper. I'm not really expecting absolute amazing fitment, but I was able to pull the bumper down, so now you can see it's actually level with it, when before it actually was tilted up. What I had to do was actually pull the bottom portion of the bumper inward, and then I have a bolt holding it into the spare tire area right there. So now the bumper actually doesn't really flex much either. It still flexes in these corners, but I'm planning on building some type of liner that covers this whole area that's open to the bumper anyway. Something that goes up to like here, goes all the way down, and just bolts into the actual inner fender well itself. That is something that I want to do on both sides. That I want to be able to get done before Wicked Big Meet, along with actually before I drive it I need to make front fender before I start driving it I actually need to make front fender liners themselves, because of the whole fuse box that I have right there. So I need something to actually go and protect all of that. But now it's funny because now literally the whole front of the car is done, and literally the whole rear of the car is done. Just the center that is left. Alright, so just off camera, I got a decent amount of stuff done. I've been here for a couple hours today. Got the suspension all dialed, all the ride heights dialed. I still want to adjust the camber in the front just a little bit more negative camber, but the rear is good how it's at. I got the front bumper on, and I actually finished wrapping the wing. So I'm going to show you guys that stuff right now. Alright, so this is it from the back. The wing is now on and sealed, so all the holes that go through the trunk I sealed with some silicone. The wheels are on. I can't remember if they were on earlier, but this is going to be the ride height. Still needs to settle a little bit. You can see it's also actually off the lift. This is the front so far. Front is on. I actually made some brackets for the turn signals as well. I ended up going with the smoked just because the day that Matt and I were here wrapping the bumpers, I just test fit the smoked ones compared to the clear, and with that vent area down here that's black, it just matched a lot better if I just did the smoked for right there. As you can see, I got the JDM clear corner markers in. This is it so far. So it looks really good. I'm really happy with how all of it's coming out. I actually ended up making brackets, which I don't know if you'll be able to see, kind of brackets down in here that go from the body over to the bumper. So bumper is now super rigid. It's not going anywhere. Also underneath, I don't know if I'll be able to show you guys or not, but I also put my skid plate on. Yeah, you can kind of see it. Skid plate was actually able to fit with the headers. My last Impreza that I had that had a WRC swap, the header that I'd put on it, the skid plate didn't fit, so I never used it. But now, thankfully, I could use it on this one. I also got one of the carbon actual Subaru scoops that someone wrapped with carbon, like actual carbon, not like vinyl wrap. Got that scoop on. For the other side, I have the same one in carbon, but it doesn't have studs like a traditional scoop does. So I just need to get some hardware for this one. That'll sit just like that. And then the hood scoop itself, I still have to wrap that. I have it over there with the side skirts. But it's looking super, super good. I have this pink STI badge that I'm putting on it, but I need to get some more double sticky tape in order to get it to actually fit in its spot. But it's looking good. Alright, so you can see it's on the other lift now, just because I actually backed it out, saw it in the daylight, pulled it back in because I took all the wheels off because I'm making the front fender liners. I also got the 10mm spacers now for all the way around. Instead of stacking out 5 and a 3, now I have the 10s. I actually just finished both sides for the fender liner. This is what it ended up looking like. I know it's kind of dark and reflective. That's it. This was the second one that I did, the passenger side. This one was super easy compared to the first one because this one I already knew what I needed to do. Here's the other one. This side, the wheel's already back on it. But you can see it just rides along that little ridge right there, comes up and over, and then covers the whole fuse box area that is now down in here. So now the water that comes off the tires, I'm not really going to be driving this much in the rain, but if I go through puddles or anything like that, now it's not going to splash and hit the fuse box. You can kind of see the fuse box up in there, and And then under here you can just see I used that bracket that I used to mount the bumper and just made a couple L brackets to bolt the fender liner to. So now it's good. And it's actually like a proper fender liner. It's screwed in with little tiny Phillips head screws all the way around. Made a couple of my own little studs for that nut over there, then that nut right there. I'll show you on this side. So just like that, and then this one right here bolts through the fender, the side skirt, and the fender liner. So that one holds 3 things. And they look good. I'm actually really happy with how they came out. The material that I used, I don't remember what it was called, but it's this hard, but like flexible, looks like maybe 3mm thick plastic. It came in a roll like this. My buddy Derek, years and years and years ago, when he had a coupe that was wide-bodied, he made his own fender liners out of this material, and at the time he sent me the link, and I've had it ever since. Literally, it's been probably like 4 or 5 years that I've had this just in a box up on the shelf, and now I finally got to use it. Alright, this is it on the ground. So I adjusted the camber in the front just a little bit, just by a little bit, not much. But I think it looks pretty good. I'm sorry, it's still in the shop, so obviously I can't get far away video of it. But I just took it for a ride out in the parking lot, and it definitely still needs a lot of work. It might look good, it might sound pretty good, but it still needs a lot of work in order to be like comfortably drivable. Obviously alignment has not been touched at all, so it drives horrendously. But the power steering, I guess, still needs to be bled. I'm not sure, because I still have no power steering, even though it's idled quite a bit when I was warming it up and just now, and you would think that it would be bled out by now, but it's not. So I'm not sure what the deal is with that. Maybe if I have to buy a power steering pump, I'm not sure yet. But it felt nice to drive it, but the interior isn't in yet, so it makes a whole bunch of different rattle noises on the inside just because there's no door panels or anything. A lot of things still need to be finalized. I guess that's what I can say. I'd say a good 90% of all the work is done on this, and now it's the 10% that's going to take the longest, probably, or the most tedious 10% of the work that's left. But at least now it has the fender liners, it's all wrapped, it looks good. Now at any time I can grab my trailer and just bring it to work, and I can do an alignment on it, so at least then the alignment is done. Ride height is set already, cambers are set, so now I just gotta dial in the toe and make sure the steering wheel is straight. But besides that, everything else is good. Now the next step for me in this car is going to be not only just dialing in all those things that I just said, but it's going to be working on the interior. So now I'm going to start on the interior today. You guys aren't going to see it in this video. Interior, since I covered a lot of the initial interior stuff in another video, I'm just going to do kind of a wrap-up video once the interior is all set, once the alignment's done. I'll just give you guys a final episode of just everything wrapped up, because interior, it's not going to be too special. All the stock stuff is pretty much going back in, besides those WRC seats. So it's not really that much of an exciting episode, so I'll just leave you guys out of it until the end. So until then, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to give me a subscribe, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.